Hello ladies and gentlemen, and thanks so much for watching. Today I'm going to be answering the question, is it possible to learn how to work on guitars off YouTube? There's lots of videos on, how to restring, how to clean your guitars, how to fix things, and all kinds of stuff like that. And, well, I'm going to be showing you whether or not those videos really work. How am I going to be doing that? Well, I'm going to tell you right now. As you can see here, I have this beautiful PRS right here. It's so pretty. This is a PRS SE Custom 24 2017, I think, around $750 new. I bought it used off Reverb for around $500. I don't really have any major complaints with this guitar. I mean, everything seems pretty good. I like the way it sounds. It's got coil splitting. I really like the single coil sound. All the electronics and everything seem to be pretty good for, a cheaper made guitar. I like the way it plays, but it will not stay in tune. I do not specifically remember when I got it. Like, I don't really remember if I thought it went out of tune really badly, but it almost seems like it's gotten worse. And now it's basically gotten to the point where if I play like one solo or something, it'll be quite a ways out of tune. It varies sometimes. Like, I've been trying to learn Eruption recently. It sounds terrible, but I've been trying to learn it on that guitar, and sometimes I can play all the way through, and it's not out of tune. Even Dive Bomb with the whammy bar, and it stays in tune. And then the next time, I'll play it all the way through and not even touch the whammy bar or the tremolo or whatever you want to call it, and it'll be way out of tune. So, it is detuned to half step. That's the reason I got it, is because I wanted to have a guitar in half step. And so I don't know if that would affect the tuning much. I tried it in standard. That didn't really seem to help. I've watched a lot of Philip McKnight's videos, Know Your Gear, and I think he's pretty knowledgeable when it comes to working on guitars. I mean, he seems really smart in the video. And he says most of the time when it's a tuning problem, it's the nut, right here. And this nut does look kind of rough. It was mostly the G and B string, which, makes sense because you bend those a lot. So I tried sanding on the nut a little, smoothing it off. That kind of helped. But the more as time goes by, I'm feeling pretty convinced that the nut is just not very good. Maybe just not very good from the factory. Maybe the previous owner messed it up. I don't know for sure. I know sometimes you'll get a guitar from the factory that just has a mess up. Again, I'm not saying that 100%. I don't know for sure. That's just my guess at this point. So I went online. I measured the nut with my tape measure, and because that's what Stu Mac says to say. And Stu Mac also seems pretty knowledgeable. And I went online and ordered a Graphtec Tusk nut that is the same measurements as this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to install that new nut. Again, I have no training, just from watching off YouTube. And so we'll see if I can take the old nut out, put the new one in, and if that fixes the tuning problems. And if I can do that all without destroying my PRS. If I can do that, then I guess you can learn how to work a guitar off YouTube. If I totally destroy everything, then yeah, I can't. So I'm going to do one of these neat little transitions to when I get the nut, and we'll see if I can get it installed without too much destroying of pretty guitars. So anyway, to the future. Alright, so here we are in the future. So I watched a Stu Mac video on how to change your guitar nut, and so I basically followed it exactly. So the first thing I did, as you can see, is I loosened all the strings, detuned them way down, and put them around the guitar neck so they're out of the way. Then I took a knife and started cutting away the glue. The Stu Mac video said some nuts will just pop out, but this one was glued in. In fact, the glue was kind of ugly. Maybe I'm just too picky. I mean, you couldn't see it from afar away, but if you looked at it real close, it was kind of messy. The Stu Mac guys had an X-Acto knife, very precise, was probably better than what I used, but I just used a carpenter's knife, a pretty sharp knife, and that's what I had. I didn't really cut the glue out. I don't know if you could do that, but basically I would just stick the knife in there and chip it a little bit. The glue's hard and brittle, and I could just chip it out slowly and slowly. Then I would look in the flashlight with a flashlight, as you can probably see me doing there, and slowly and surely I continued chipping the glue out. I don't know how long I did this, maybe 20 minutes or so. This video sped up like 10 times or 10x speed or whatever, and I didn't even use all of it because it probably would have been too long. But yeah, I continually cut at it for quite some time, and Wasn't really sure if I was getting anywhere or not, but I kept going. As you can see, I'm also watching a Philip McKnight Know Your Gear live stream. I guess that's fitting. Watch that while you work on your guitar. So after a while, I decided to try hitting it with a hammer. The whole time I'd been pushing on it and pulling on the nut and hadn't been getting anything done. So I got the small little hammer we have, and as you can see, I put a cloth over. And at the time, I was thinking this is probably a terrible idea. This is going to be a fail. But I just gave it one light little tap, and it just popped right out. I was not expecting that. I was totally stoked. I figured, as I was getting the hammer, I was like, oh, this is a terrible idea. This is horror. But, yeah, I just gave it a little tap, and it came right out. There you can see. I actually, if anybody knows what the PRS SE Custom 24s have on them, I don't think it's plastic. I think it's something harder than that. It just doesn't really seem like plastic. But as you can see, I'm going back with a GravTech Tusk nut. So the new GravTech nut was way too high. It made the action way too high. So I started filing on it. I just started by using a little micro mesh pad on just my bed, as you can see me doing. And you can hear how fast of a filer I am. I'm like, that's kind of funny. But anyway, so I filed quite a bit off of it. Doing it on my bed really didn't work the best, so I went and put a piece of sandpaper on a hard surface. As you can see, I disappear every now and again, and I'm going and sanding on it. And I sanded a lot off, like quite a bit, and it's still a little bit high. I normally run my action probably a little bit low on my SG, but or on my other guitar, but I finally decided I didn't want to take too much off, and if I didn't like it, I could file down the nut slots or do something like that. So finally I decided it was alright. I just measured it with like a 1mm pick between the fret and the string. So after I got all that done, I decided to start gluing it. I just used some Gorilla Glue there on my very professional Pizza Hut plate. I know some people would probably say to use wood glue, but the Gorilla Glue weren't good well on other things, and it said it would bond to wood, so I just used it. As you can see, I used a little toothpick, put one glob on each side, put the nut in, and the StewMac video said to put the two E strings on and tune them up. And so I just put all the strings on and then only tune the two E strings. I kind of moved the nut around just a little after the strings were on because I thought the low or the high E seemed awful close to the bottom of the fretboard. But yeah, then I basically just, once I got it pretty well in position, I tuned the two E strings up, as you can see me doing there, and tried to make sure everything was flat and level, and hope for the best. As you can see there, I'm watching Know Your Gear podcast. Sorry, I don't mean to like copyright or anything. Go check out Philip McKnight. That's where I learned how to do any of this stuff. As you can see, I think it turned out pretty good. I feel like the top of the nut slants a little bit towards the fretboard, like it's a little bit crooked. I couldn't get the camera to focus right there. But overall, everything seemed to be pretty good. I did get some glue on the guitar and stuff. After a while, the next time I restring, I'm going to try to take a piece of sandpaper and kind of file that off. But other than that, everything seemed to work out pretty good. And so now that I've got the new nut installed, the question was, did it help the tuning problems? And a lot of people say it helps the tone too to have a Tusk nut. So I guess we'll see. Well, I tuned the guitar up as much as I could with my Snark tuner, and then as you can see I started playing, and it did stay in tune pretty well. I still don't think it's quite as well as my Epiphone SG, but it seems to be a very good guitar at staying in tune. If I used, as you can probably hear from the video, if I used the tremolo bar, just basically as a tremolo, you know, just to add some vibrato or whatever, it seemed like it stayed in tune pretty well to me. But if I used it as like a Floyd Rose or really did any dive bombs with it, it did not really stay in tune at all. I don't really think that particular tremolo bar is meant for that. You know, I mean, it's not a Floyd Rose. I don't know for sure, but I don't really think it's meant for dive bombs and all that crazy stuff. I could be wrong, but... So yeah, it definitely does stay in tune better than it did with the previous nut. The string buzz isn't as bad, which I actually have the action a little bit high. I might have to file the nut down a little bit or something like that, but it's not too bad. And the tremolo bar definitely works smoother. Before, I think the strings were actually hitting on a little something on the nut because you could hear kind of like a squeaking or a noise sometimes coming through the amp when you use the tremolo bar, and that's gone. As far as the tone, I wouldn't say it's a lot better, but it definitely is not any worse. It's probably a little bit better and brighter and cleaner, but it definitely did improve it. So yes, I guess the answer is you can learn to work on guitar off of YouTube, or at least I did, I guess. Obviously, changing the nut is not a hugely extensive project. It's not like putting a guitar neck back in or something, I don't know. But, you know, it's something of a serious project, and it turned out really well. I'm very pleased with how it came out, you know. I mean, in the end, it cost like $15 or something to do, you know. It was really cheap, and it basically turned it from a almost unplayable guitar into a really nice playing guitar. So, yes, I'm very pleased with how it came out. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. I enjoyed making it, and please comment below your thoughts, and be on the lookout for more repair videos because I have a couple more in the works right now. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope I'll see you again here at Talking Rock real soon.